We thank you for staying with us. It is still the conversation here on Lagos Television. And on this side, we are focusing on image making and governance in Lagos. We'll be looking at how government presents itself to the people, how it communicates its policies, its achievements, and of course, how the people perceive these things that the government are rolling out. Does the government have a strong and positive image, or is reverse the case? These and more are the things we'll find out on the conversation today. And helping us to unpack this is a public relations consultant and a lawyer. He is Jide Ologun. He's usually on the other side, but it's so good to have him on this side of the conversation. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right. Since we are talking about image making and governance in Lagos, if you ask anyone about image making, it means how you present yourself to another person. But again, since we're looking at it in terms of governance now, how important is the image making of a state like Lagos?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. When you talk about image, you talk about how you want to be perceived, the impression you want people to have about you. And definitely it is your responsibility to project that impression. And basically, it has to be true reputation, because in public relations, you talk about image and you also talk about reputation. And there's a Chinese saying that you cannot carve a rotten wood. So that is why it's your prerogative to ensure that you occupy that space of honor in the minds and perception of your publics. And for Lagos State is doing well, because there are several indices that will be considered. You talk about the economy, you talk about the social life, you talk about the governance system. And then when you talk about the governance system, there are about 4 pillars. We call them the 4 P's of governance. You talk about the purpose, you talk about the process, you talk about the people, and you talk about performance. You see, when you bring all this together, then you can be reckoned with as a vibrant community. And for instance, Lagos is rated as one of the 5 big state economies in Africa.
5th largest
in
economy.
Line with Cairo, Joburg, and some other countries. And why do we have this? Because of the strategic position of Lagos State as a hub of business, you see, and that is one thing Lagos must continue to build on, while considering the other issues that we help them to build on. Because historically, from the 15th century, when the Portuguese came to Africa, specifically to Benin Empire, Lagos, being a region that is close to the ocean, also benefited tremendously. And at that time, trading was in ivory and palm oil. We have not even discovered the crude oil by then. And after a while, the Dutch came in, the British, the French people, and then later, because the British was out, in fact, slave trade was part of the transactions then. To deal with slave trade, eventually, I think around 1861, Lagos was ceded to the British, and then it became a colony to the British. And from there, and when Nigeria gained independence, political independence, 65 years ago, in 1960, Lagos was fortunate to become the capital of Nigeria. So all the infrastructural development and everything, which has helped Lagos, so that today, even though the Federal Capital Territory has taken over that capital status of Lagos State, when you talk about economy, Lagos is still on the front. And in Nigeria, Lagos has the highest IGR, is the richest state in Nigeria.
I want to dwell on that we can say that Lagos has so many feathers to its cap. But again, when we look at all these things, some of the things that you have mentioned, how the economy has grown over time or over the years, Lagos is called, often called Nigeria's commercial hub, as you have also established. Don't you think that this positions that Lagos have acquired has also kind of put some pressure on the state to ensure that it has to maintain a particular image.
Absolutely. And let me say, in addition, because it will form part of my counsel to the state while looking forward into the future. Lagos is accommodating when it comes to business. And that has helped. For instance, you must have read that Dangote wanted his refinery in another state, but eventually landed in Lagos State. And what that has done is that it has activated the deep sea port that we have in the Lekki zone. We have the refinery there, the biggest in Africa. We have the projected Lekki airport there, and different businesses that are attached to it. And you know what that translates to. And Lagos State has further invested in the bus rapid transit system that some African countries are even coming to study. We have the Eco Atlantic City, that is also a global brand, So when you put all this together, you should expect that that community will become heavily populated, because the mindset and part of the image we're talking about Lagos in Nigeria is that just get to Lagos, you will prosper. It's a land of opportunities. But let me also speak to the audience. Nobody welcomes you to Lagos. If you are driving to Onitsha, you get to, as you are exiting Asaba, you see welcome to Onitsha, welcome to Ondo State. Nobody welcomes you to Lagos. You get to, I'll prove it. If the billboard is still there, and it should big one by Baga or Jodu Baga, you just see this is Lagos. There is nobody is welcoming you to Lagos. This is Lagos. So it's up to you whether you want to prosper or you want to roam around. So, and Lagos has become like New York City in the US, beehive of activities. And that is also an issue. That is why people are complaining about the waste management in Lagos. Some locations can be so filthy. And again, the overpopulation. Lagos State is estimated to have about 20 million citizens, which has brought the picture of becoming a mega city. But I know that there are more than 20 million human beings in Lagos. And that is a pressure on the infrastructure. You talk about water supply, and that is, if that is still there, maybe not in all parts of Lagos. You talk about the electricity, you talk about other basic amenities, you talk about the roads. And the principle of sustainability dictates that you look at your present situation and you project your future encounters to prepare so that you can always meet the challenges of the moment as they show up. And I think that is an issue in Lagos State, you see. And again, when you talk about the regulations of relationship, I think we need to do more in the area of making people to respect the laws of the land. And on the flip side of the coin, making the law enforcement agents also to know how to implement the laws of the land. I've noticed in Lagos, and I've complained, that some transporters don't respect the traffic lights. They cannot be bothered. These tricyclists, they have the government of their own. So the image some have is that get to Lagos, set up your own government. That is a free land. You do as you like. And it's not the best. If you get to Dubai, you must comply with the regulations of that community. And Dubai is not a country. Dubai is also a state. You see? Even in Benin Republic there, motorcyclists respect traffic laws as if it's something else. Rwanda. So we need to look in that environment.
No,
and like I said,
this is like a people's problem. Because the laws are there.
We are quick to say there is a people's problem. But let me roll out this example. In Nigeria, assuming I'm a commissioner, one of the ways to show that I have arrived is when I'm on the road siren, my mobile policemen are there kicking everybody off the road. If I travel to London, or let's assume, okay, not even to London per se now. If I land in Gatwick Airport and I'm going to my hotel, will I ask siren to come and escort me? The answer is no. It's not allowed. And the people know it. In Dubai, it's not allowed. So the government sets the pace. I just told you about Benin Republic. You don't dare the laws in Benin Republic. The system is stringent. You see? So, and that is one of the impressions some people have. Coming from all parts of the country, some from some foreign countries, Ghana, Togo, they just believe that the moment you arrive Lagos, you are on your own. So you behave as you like. No, we must regulate that. And I mentioned earlier, and those who implement the laws, for instance, the LASMA, all those, paramilitary, they should also, deploy the laws with human face. It's very important. I recall when I was the chairman of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Lagos State Chapter, because of this issue, we conducted trainings for some LASMA officials, VIOs, police, and things like that on this relationship management. And interestingly and commendably, the present chairman of the Lagos State Chapter of NIPR, Dr. Ayetutu, is from the public sector. So that relationship can still be sustained so that it forms part of the image. Some people will tell you in Nigeria that give them 1 million naira, they cannot stay in Lagos for one day. Because they say everyone is in a hurry, that, Lagos life is so. Image management is a very serious issue. And it is in the purview of the Ministry of Information and Strategy. And thank God for LTV, brilliant, media station like this. It should be the bride of the ministry to tell the story, to project the great things happening in Lagos. Because they say you cannot wink in the dark. If you want to wink in the daytime so that people can see you are winking. So these are the things you do. You can see how America is positioned in the world as the great power. Even when you watch movies, an American hardly loses. He's the Superman, he's this. So, because you are reaching out to people, and that's why we talk about enculturation in public relations. There are those who don't even know where the airport is in Nigeria, but they dress like Americans, they move like Americans. Some even call themselves Americana. You see, that is enculturation. They have pushed their culture to us. So those are issues. So because you must manage that image, you must manage that reputation. And we have rolled out some of the issues we have identified.
Still talking about issues that you identify, when I said, is it not a people's problem? And then you also, noted that even the government themselves, the government themselves are not also projecting the right image that they should. And that's why I also want you to talk about these three factors: perception, trust, and communication. How important are these factors to determine the success or failure of government and its policies?
Thank you very much. Let's start with communication. If you let people tell your story, they will tell you from their own mindset and biases. You have to tell your story. And this is a state media organization. It's a strong tool in the hands of the government. And I trust my Honorable Commissioner of Information. And Lagos State started this move, not just Ministry of Information, but Ministry of Information and Strategy. And what is strategy? Strategy is a long-term plan for success. So I expect that this media organization will be maximized, because it's all about what people know that is going on in your environment. And there are several opportunities to reach out to the people, even when you manage crisis. For instance, the recent flood in Lagos. What some have read is that Lagos have been submerged by flood, and they go away with that perception. But that is not absolutely correct. It's just some parts of Lagos. So how do you engage and communicate and bring out other parts of Lagos that have been moved away from flood impact successfully, and that the state is still putting in effort and resources to ensure, for instance, like I suggested to the state government, you can, liaise with the Taiwanese government. They have tamed flooding in their environment and things like that, and some other countries of the world. So what can we do? We call it responsiveness. And that is from where you get the word responsibility. I mentioned earlier the 4 pillars of governance. I spoke about purpose. Purpose is why. Why are we here as government? And ask me, constitutionally speaking, Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended says clearly that security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government. So that is why you have a government. Then you talk about process. How do you operate? How efficient, how effective? And let me ask this question. It's embarrassing sometimes when you apply for certified true copy of documents from the state apparatus and you are told that there is no light to make photocopy.
Oh, no paper.
I mean, something that sometimes you apply for to perfect title of subsequent transaction, purchase of a property, that normally it should maybe maximum of 6 months, 3 years you are still on it. Somebody should be concerned. So I am advising, recently, and let me commend the amiable governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, we be Jide. I complained recently because I love Lagos. We monitor, we suggest what can be done to make Lagos a better place. When the flood came, I was in it, monitored and everything. And we have noticed there are some roads with potholes. And while some drivers are trying to avoid potholes, accidents, and different kinds of crises, and I suggested, and I'm glad it's already, I've noticed it. On Toyin Street, I've noticed it, and some areas. If you go to Obakran, the potholes are still there. Agege towards Kwero, Alaja, Moshalashi, Alaja. I'm not sure you know all those areas. Otubu. Lagos is big, really.
Yeah.
You see, that the governor should declare a state of emergency on local government roads or whether they are state roads. Because now these local government authorities, they have direct allocation from the federal accounts. So these are areas that you touch the lives of the people. Oh, our government is thinking about us. So, they want us to enjoy. And it will reduce the traveling time to work and back from work, and people are comfortable. Because part of the image of Lagos is that, and which reduced recently, but it's coming back now. Oh, you must leave your house by 4 a.m. to get to work, and you don't return to that house until 1 midnight. No. We should respond to, and if there are those responsible for those assignments, the governor should ensure that they perform. And I'm suggesting now, you see, and that is also one of the pillars. I spoke about purpose, I spoke about process, I spoke about people, the people. Do they carry out their jobs effectively? Are they trained for it? I know Lagos values training. Then how do you monitor their performance? In project management, if you don't manage that project effectively, your resources will waste. You see, so, and what about the executive order? In the United States of America, where executive order emanated from, it was not just giving directive, go and deal with. No, it was, let's come together, give us your ministerial performance. How have you done in this area? Then reach out to the people in that community. Oh, we understand that all the roads in your local government are okay. Is that correct? You should have that mechanism to relate with the people. Whether, you should also have your own army, because it's possible that in Nigeria, the governor announces that he's going to one Ajebandele or whatever local government, and before he comes, they grade the road. And he drives on a smooth road and goes back. You should have this in this age and time. Because as written in the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, sovereignty still belongs to the people. And that is why you can come to the 4th P in the pillars of governance, which is performance. Oh, that governor, and let's face the reality. The governor will take the glory. It's natural. And he will also take the blames. And that is why you must ensure that those in your team they are up and doing. And I love what a former governor in Lagos State used to do. Just unannounced inspection tour to some contract sites. You know, just disguise and go there, go and see by yourself. Otherwise, they'll just be deceiving you in office there, and they mess up your image out there, and before you know it, they start comparing you with other leaders. So it's good that leaders are on ground. So
still talking about the three factors I've mentioned, you have dealt with communication. Now,
yes.
let's talk about trust.
When all these are done, people will trust you. It's not just about the political promises. And that is the aspect of performance. Performance builds trust. In public relations, we call it you walk your talk. It's not just about talking. If you promise, meet that promise. If you cannot meet the promise, tell the people why you cannot meet the promise. Let them see the sincerity of purpose, and you'll be trusted. You'll be trusted. So, and it's part of the image. They can be easily trusted. For instance, now, let's use some communities around the world. I mean, I cannot be going to Dubai on holiday now and say I'm having a phobia, security phobia, that okay, I want to pray and fast before I get into the aircraft. The image is that Dubai is safe.
The structures.
You know, there's a time I was there on vacation with my wife. We flew in from London, and then I was amazed. By 1 a.m., lights everywhere, people still doing their business. In Dubai, you go shopping, pay for the goods, go back to your hotel, and the goods are delivered to the hotel. You know, these are things people profile. So you get to the airport, people greet you nicely, and they are not asking you what you bring or what you not bring and things. It's all part of it. So when I think about Dubai, this is my impression. I was going to Canada also from the US. I got to the border. Just simple questions. You're a lawyer, yes. And they tried to work on my psychology. And they said, your wife a lawyer too? I said, no, she's not a lawyer. If I said yes, they can bounce you from there. That you are not sincere. These are, you know, professionalism. And they won't start bothering you, this or, you know. So we need to ensure that a sound image is not just projected, but an effective reputation is sustained to project that image, you know. So these are the issues, so that people don't get contrasting experience. And if there are negative perceptions people have, why not? I also complained about one, and I raised my voice on it. In Lagos now, if your car breaks down in some areas, you are in trouble. Some boys will come out and begin to demand that you pay them 75,000 before you change your tire or whatever. It should not be heard about Lagos, you know. I don't know who they call them. I've had to rescue some victims from them as a chief superintendent of police, but will I be everywhere that people are being harassed? So the government must be interested. But shockingly, you may find out that those are political loyalists, the guys who actually come out to vote, and they have their babai sales. And no, we should not allow it. Let our when you compare that, for instance, with environments where your car has a problem and the law enforcement agents come to help you and even escort you to where you are going to say, are you all right? Are you okay? You compare that with where your car has problem, you first hold your head. It has happened. So these are issues. And on the larger scale, the employment opportunities in that society, the management of resources to ensure that wealth is not concentrated in the hands of a few, as we have in Section 16 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. So it's a holistic issue.
You've touched on perception already. Now let's look at how important is transparency, where we're talking about building the image of government. How important is carrying the people along, letting the people understand at what point are we as a government. Transparency in governance.
Thank you very much. Transparency is transparency. If you pour water in a glass cup, you see through the glass cup, you see through the water. But if you drop a red ink, it blurs the transparency. So it's simple. What is transparency? Be who you are. Be who you say you are. Let the pronouncements and the experience merge. You see, and you'll be seen to be transparent. For instance, let me use that example. It's a good one. In Dubai, 6 sponsors of Boko Haram were identified, and they were apprehended. Upon investigations, they were prosecuted and convicted. I think 2 to life imprisonment, the other 4 to 10 years jail term. And Nigeria, the direct victim of this terrorism, we claim to have identified over 400 sponsors of Boko Haram. I don't know how many of them have been jailed. That is a test of transparency. Can people see through your operations? It's also called accountability. And if you put that in place, and I know at the time in Lagos State, commendably so, there was this Citizens Gate where you could communicate with the government online and get response. So, but that response, relationships about response. It's about response. Let me also commend Lagos in the area of security. Many will think that RRS is Lagos State Police. No. RRS, Rapid Response Squad, is federal government police, but supported by Lagos State to face the unique challenges of security in Lagos State. So it's commendable, because as we speak now, the police system is still centralized. And we are looking forward to the National Assembly to endorse the state police system, because by virtue of Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the National Assembly is empowered to make laws for the peace, orderliness, and good government in Nigeria. You see, and while waiting for that, commendably too, Lagos State has the neighborhood watch and all those, in preparation. So it's but given the population in Lagos and the pressure, we may not be able to have enough hands to support that. So like I said earlier, you cannot carve a rotten wood.
Let's talk about,
and that is transparency.
The local government, which is the closest to the people now. We have new local government chairmen who have been in office for about 2 months or so. There is already a laydown, or there is a blueprint here in Lagos. There is an image that successive governments have managed to uphold. What would you say to this new chairman in ensuring that they also follow through and keep upholding the image of the state?
Like I said, even with the autonomy, fiscal autonomy granted to the local government areas in Nigeria, 774, we still have the issue of, political control. For instance, the land on which local governments will operate is managed by the state. Some governors have refused to honor that pronouncement of the Supreme Court. So they still get the money and give local government what they want. I even said, because of the political structure, even if some local government chairmen are giving that money directly, they will still carry it to governor. That governor, they brought the money. So how do we share it? And it boils down to what we must correct in Nigeria. Leadership should be transformational. It is for the benefit of the society. You see, and what are these benefits? You talk about health centers, you talk about education facilities, you talk about the market areas, you talk about water provision, energy, basic things that touch on the people. So if the money is not spent on those things, roads, like I said, then you're not transparent, you are fraudulent, to say the best of it. So whether it is joint account or direct account, whatever, if that money is not used for the purpose it's meant for, because I've never heard that the federal government is releasing money to local government or state so that they go and share it and clean mouth. No, it's to develop. Recently, I read the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, telling some governors that, hey, we are releasing more money to you. Your people are complaining again about monitoring. And the big question is, does the resources of the state belong to the governor? The answer is no. He's just a custodian. You see, it's just to oversee the engagement of these resources to benefit the society. But it's a systemic issue. How accountable are we in Nigeria? In a country where a minister of poverty reduction, or is it poverty alleviation, ate money, and the worst we could do was to suspend her and remove her from office. Was she prosecuted? You see? So these are serious issues. The former president of France has been convicted. You see, in South Africa, Zuma went to prison. So if there are no consequences, the narrative of corruption will continue. And by the way, if you look at Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it states clearly that the state shall abolish, not may, shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. It's there clearly. So we have the grand norm for that. But the leadership culture, does it embrace accountability? I leave that question on the table.
Final question in comparison to what has happened in some other states. I would not want to mention names, but looking at politics, some issues happened in Lagos, some time ago. And I want you to look at how Lagos was able to, manage the situation and still uphold the image.
Yeah, thumb up for Lagos State. And some of us did not expect anything less. Lagos State politics is unique. It's always been. And then the synchronization is strong. For instance, what you just referred to, the crisis in the House of Assembly. And eventually, when Obasa returned to the country, and then Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the leader of the party, invited the stakeholders, the matters was resolved as a family matter. That is at the political level. But at the governance level, whether that was in the best interest of the society or in the best interest of politicians, it's a discussion for another day. But that has helped to prevent the aggravated crisis like the one that took place in Rivers State. And right now, the sole administrator, who was just there for 6 months, has been called upon by the House of Protocol, and the man is saying he cannot give account, that is not answerable to them. These are issues in Nigeria. But politically speaking, Lagos has a unique dimension to politics. So.
Interesting conversation. Thank you so much, Didi Olugun, for sharing your insight on this beautiful topic, image making and governance in Lagos. Thank you again for your time.
Thank God. God bless Lagos.
The conversation continues after this. Stay with us.
Let the conversation continue.